We have seen this story before. Nice complimentary player leaves contending type team because he wants to have a team of his own. We saw Jeremy Grant do it a few years ago, right? It's like, it's nice playing with Joker and Jamal Murray, but I want to go do my own thing in Detroit. And then you get a taste of doing your own thing, and now it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to go be traded by Detroit to go be a complimentary player on an inferior team to the one I originally was on because I can't handle that load. So with respect to Jalen Brunson, nobody was holding him back. And in regards to how this impacts Luka, to me, this is one step backwards for two step forward scenario, Brew. I've said throughout the offseason that if it was going to take $25, $26, $27 million to keep Jalen Brunson, that I would prefer the Mavs not do it. Because we have seen teams in the past have a transcendent young star and panic or overpay to try to get his second star and get a guy who's not actually a second star. We saw the Pelicans do it with Drew Holiday. Traded all those picks, trade Drew Holiday because Anthony Davis was so good, and I love Drew Holiday. But Drew Holiday can't really be your second best guy. He's a great third best guy, and that's the role he has with the Bucks. We saw the Cavs the first time around try to do it with Larry Hughes and Mo Williams and various guys that should be third or fourth options instead of secondary options because they were trying to win right then with LeBron. So does this hurt the Mavs for this coming season? Potentially, slightly, yes. Does this make it more likely that Luka wins a championship in the next 4 years rather than less likely? I would say yes to that as well. Because it does not lock them into a team that has a hard ceiling. That is when your second best player is not an all-star caliber guy. So I'm okay with this. It's not ideal, but it's a better option than paying Jalen Brunson 4 years, $110 million like the Knicks are going to do, bro.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Mo Williams back in Cleveland with LeBron James because it was similar, and Luka's similar to LeBron offensively in that he's ball dominant, he's the system, everyone has to play off him. And we've all talked about how a player that can create his own shot and create his own offense can get frustrated playing with LeBron or with Luka because they create everything. And you kind of can just be relegated to being a spot-up shooter at the three, or at least, a guy creating for you and you do it off his passes. And so I'm not surprised that Brunson, his camp, made the comment they did to Chris Haynes of Yahoo. But be careful. Mo Williams made all-star teams, or at least one, I think maybe two, playing with LeBron James.
Yeah.
And so, one all-star team. And nobody was going to say he was, $100 million player or even the equivalent at that time. And that's what's happening with Jalen Brunson. I like Jalen Brunson like you do, Nick. I think it'd be good if the Mavs could keep him. I'm sure they'd like to keep him. But this doesn't affect Luka at all. Jalen Brunson is being paid. He played well in the playoffs, throughout the playoffs for the most part. But a lot of this is what he did against the Jazz in the first round. He averaged 28 points a game, 4 assists, so he's not a big assist guy, even when Luka's not there. But he still gave you 28 points. But remember, when Kawhi Leonard was out for games 5 and 6 against Utah a few years ago, Reggie Jackson stepped in and averaged 25 points a game and actually led them to victory in that series. So be careful. Luka, to answer your question, Jenna, it's not going to affect Luka at all. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. coming back, who's a better three-point shooter. I know he didn't shoot well from three last year, but over the course of, the last few years in Dallas, he's been a better three-point shooter than Jalen Brunson. Catch-and-shoot guy, 3-and-D guy, athletic, long. They got Christian Wood. I like that trade. 18-10, stretch 5, shoots the 3, better than Jalen Brunson. So, Wilds, I don't think this is going to have any impact on Luka. Luka's independently great, regardless of a guy like Jalen Brunson. And I still think the Mavericks will be a very good team and a contender out west.
Okay, they'll be a contender, but there's definitely a ceiling. And when we look at the top 5 guys in the league, we'll put Luka in that category, Nick. I'm going to break down the teammates using the old superhero metaphor. We've got Batman, we've got Robins, and we've got Alfreds. And I know a lot of people, I think it started with Scottie Pippen, he didn't want to be called a Robin. I think that's a lot of based on Robin's terrible color scheme of his outfit. He's got like the green tights and the yellow top. I understand. But Alfred, he's also a step down. But Alfred is always finely dressed, so it's okay to be either of these guys. So here are my Batmen: Embiid, Giannis, LeBron, and KD, and Luka. Here are their Robins: Harden, Middleton, AD, and Kyrie. And between them, that group has 28 All-Star appearances, 3 rings, and an MVP. Now you get down to the Alfreds, right? Tobias, Drew Holiday, Russ, and Ben. And between them, that group has 4 All-Stars, 1 ring. I didn't count Russ's All-Stars because Russ is a kind of a different player at this point.
Right, in a different place in his career.
But does Jalen Brunson belong? In what group is Jalen Brunson? Well, I think he's going to be a nice player for New York, but is he as good as Ben Simmons, Drew Holiday, or Tobias? I don't think so.
No.
So I think you're right. At the same time, you got to make a move if I'm the Mavericks. I don't think it's Christian Wood and Tim Hardaway. Like, if we have Luka and Trey on the same trajectory, same draft, it's always like, oh, who's the better? And Luka kind of took the lead. Okay, well, the Hawks just came through yesterday and took the lead. So I don't know how long you want to wait, Nick, until Mark Cuban's like, all right, you know what? Let's spend some of that Shark Tank money and try to go out and get a guy just like we saw the Hawks do.
Be patient. My answer would, first of all, be patient. My second answer, just quickly here, is, listen, new media already impacting Kevin Wilde's brain. He talks about top 5 guys in the league, talks about top Batmans. Reigning Finals MVP, Steph Curry, can't get a mention. Oh, poor Embiid's on there. KD's on there. You can't. No. Listen. Hey, you did it. You and JJ, you got to keep to your list. That's fine. You name top 3. Giannis ain't on. What? Go ahead, Wilds. Go ahead. What'd I do? What? What's wrong? You gave a list. You left out
Old media has time constraints. Whether it's column inches for a newspaper or the length of this segment. I can't go through every gosh darn Batman there is in the league.
No.
I didn't talk about Joker.
That's fine. No.
I don't have a 90-minute podcast to keep on going. It's small.
No, I understand, Wild. Which is why you kept it to 5, and you made the editorial decision that of those 5, Steph wasn't in there. That's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm simply saying, like, at some point in your brain, you were like, reigning Finals MVP or Joel Embiid. I'm going to go with Joel Embiid. It's just an interesting editorial decision by Kevin Wildes. But to the point that he made there is a correct one, which is Jalen Brunson is not on the level of any of those Robins that he listed. And he's not really on the level. Maybe he can be Tobias Harris. Like, Tobias, you know what? I shouldn't even say maybe. I think he can be Tobias Harris level production. But I also think that Tobias Harris isn't even that team's Alfred. They're not hoping it is. They're hoping Maxey can be. They're hoping it goes Embiid, Harden, Maxey. And that's why, Brew, that I believe in what the Mavs did. It's one of the hardest things to do in sports. When you have a young superstar and you just went deep in the playoffs, to not delude yourself into thinking, oh, yeah, keep this team together. This is a championship core.
I think you're right.
By the way, it is what the Hawks did a year ago. They get to the conference finals, they're like, run it back. Pay everybody. Why not? And now what are the Hawks having to do? Trade a half-decade of draft future to improve the team. And by the way, and I actually kind of like that trade for both sides. We'll get to that in a bit. I'm not knocking what the Hawks did, but it is hard to have sober analysis of we're looking at the next decade, not the next 10 months. And Jalen Brunson, we can't put ourselves in a position where Jalen Brunson has to be our second best guy. We just can't.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.